8 spades, 7 spades, 5 spades, 4 spades, 6 spades. Okay. So we have 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Any 5 cards of sequential rank, which these cards have sequential rank and all the suits are the same. So what we're going to do, we can actually test this out when we run the application. All right. So let me zoom this out for a minute. I'm going to go back to my app.java. As we know, the check all ranks method is going to be executed. And this is the method that's going to be executed. It's going to first take the sorted hand passed in, and then it's going to pass into the royal flush method. Okay, it's going to check if it's a royal flush, and then it's also going to check if the sorted card hand is a straight flush. All right, so let's just go ahead and run the application. Enter in my cards. We have 8 of spades, 7 of spades, 6 of spades, 5 of spades, and 4 of spades. And then from here, just want to press enter. And one thing that we forgot is to actually print this out. So let's just go ahead and print it out. Just going to use the same print method from here. You have a straight flush. All right. Run the application once more. Put our input in. And from here, we just press enter. You have a straight flush. So as you can see, we've entered in our card hand. It's obviously going to sort the card hand, which is already sorted. And then it's just going to print out you have a straight flush. And this is pretty much it. You can enter in these cards in any order, but you have to make sure that all the cards in your hand have a sequential ranking, no matter what order I initially place these cards in. And yeah, this is pretty much it. So this is the implementation of the straight flush method. All right, guys, so the next method is going to be the check 4 of a kind method. So what we're going to do first is go up to this check all ranks method, and then we're just going to simply uncomment this 4 of a kind method. And then from there, we're just going to add this implementation, copy. We can just cut, actually. And then scroll down, and then right below check straight flush, we would just simply paste that method header. This method is going to return a Boolean, and I'm actually going to zoom this in for you guys right now. All right, so we have our method header for check 4 of a kind, and for now we're just going to go return false, so that we can just satisfy this return value. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to write a description of what this method is going to do. So as you guys know, when it comes to the 4 of a kind method, it's basically going to be a method that determines if the hand contains 4 cards of one rank and 1 card of another rank. So let's just add a description here. 4 cards of one rank and 1 card of another rank. So this is pretty much what this method is supposed to do. We got the check 4 of a kind, and it's pretty much supposed to be checking for this condition. If this condition is not met, then it's not a 4 of a kind. All right, so what we're also going to do is add a combination here that we're going to check. Combination to check. Then we're just going to go King of Hearts, Jack, Spades, Jack Hearts, Jack Diamonds, Jack Clubs. Then we can just add another combination as well. Combination to check 2. You can just line these up. Alright, so for the second one, we're just going to go King of Hearts, King of Spades, King of Diamonds, King, Spades, Jack of Hearts. Alright, so what we can do is check both of these combinations in this method that we're about to create, this check 4 of a kind method. Alright, so the first thing we need to do in this check 4 of a kind method is we need to create ourselves a variable, and this variable is going to be called rank to check. And this variable will hold the value of the current card, which will be compared against the value of the next card. So let's first of all just write a comment here. Actually, let's just go like this. A variable that will hold value of current card, which will be compared against the next card. Alright, so we just want to go string rank to check equals sorted card hand dot get at position 0 dot face. And then we just want to go int counter equals 0. And pretty much this counter is ultimately going to be used to count the number of similar cards in a hand, or the cards that have the same rank in the hand. That's pretty much what the counter is going to be used for. And you'll understand a little bit more about this later. Alright, so after this, we want to then create ourselves a loop for, basically going to be a for loop to iterate through the sorted card hand. So I just want to go for int I equals 0. I is lesser or equal to sorted card hand dot size minus 1 I plus plus. Okay, open up these curly braces, and I'm going to just add some more space here. Okay, so inside of this for loop, what we're going to have is a conditional statement, which is actually going to break out of the loop if the current position that we're iterating through is I plus 1. So basically we're going to check if the position number at I plus 1 equals 5, then we're going to break out of this loop. And there's a reason that we're going to do that. We just don't want the iteration to go over the we don't want this for loop to continue the iteration past a certain number. So, but I'm going to break this down. It's going to make a whole lot more sense once I start writing the code. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do, as I said, I'm just going to write a conditional statement that will break out of the loop if current position, plus 1 equals 5. If I plus 1 equals 5, you can just break. Could actually just keep this as one line if we just want to save some space. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is that we're going to have a variable that is going to store the next card rank in the hand. So we're going to have another variable just similar to the one up top, which is your check, the rank to check. We're going to have another one called the next rank to check. So we're going to start implementing that now. I'm just going to go string next rank to check equals sorted card hand dot get I plus 1 dot face. All right, so hopefully this makes sense to you guys. We basically just have a string here. I named it next rank to check, and we set the value of it to the sorted card hand I get at position I plus 1. So what's going to happen is that this next rank to check is going to check the next card in the hand based on the current card that it's on. So whatever card that we're on within this iteration, this next card is going to be the current card, and then just add it 1. Then it's going to pull us back to the face of that card. Okay, next thing we're going to do is add a if conditional statement. If rank to check dot equals next rank to check, then I want to do something. All right, so I can explain this a bit. So what's happening here is that we have the rank to check, which we already label as the first card within the card hand. So for example, let's just say we take this first combination. So what's going to happen is that the rank to check is going to be compared against the next card in the hand. And then what we're going to be doing is checking for equality. If the two values are not equal, then we're going to do something else. And I'm going to get to that soon. But if they are equal, then we're going to implement this code that I'm about to write for you guys right now. So we're just going to go rank to check. It's going to be equal to next rank to check. And then from there, I'm just going to go counter plus equals 1. All right, so what's happening here is that I have this implementation that I've added to this if conditional statement. And what I'm basically saying is that if the rank to check equals the next rank to check, then I want to set the new current card to the next card. So that's what I'm going to be doing upon each iteration if this condition is satisfied. So it's going to first compare, for example, the king to the jack, okay? Upon the next iteration, well, before it even makes it to the next iteration, we need to determine if these are equal or not. So for example, let's just take this combination to check 2. So upon the first iteration, we're going to take the rank to check, and that's going to be set to this. And then we're going to take the next rank to check, which is going to be king of spades, this, right? So what's going to happen is that before that iteration, before that next iteration, what's going to happen is that we're going to set the current value to this value now. And then what's going to happen is that we're going to compare this value to the next one, and so on until until we fully iterate through the loop. All right. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And also we just have a counter. This is just going to count the number of equal cards that we have. But it's pretty much just going to go something like this. We're going to compare these two cards. If they're equal, then we're going to increase the counter. And if these two are equal, we're going to increment that counter to 1. And then we're going to check this. If these two are equal, then we're going to increment the counter to 3. And that information is going to be really, really helpful. Okay, so right after this if conditional statement, what we want to do next is just add another if condition. If counter equals 3, then we want to go is 4 of a kind equals true. And then we're just going to go sys out .println 4 of a kind. Break. So as soon as we know that it's 4 of a kind, we're going to break out of this loop. And this if conditional, it's pretty straightforward. If the counter is equal to 3, we're going to set the Boolean value of is 4 of a kind to true. And then after that, we're going to simply just print it out. And then right after we print it out, we're then going to break out of this loop because you're pretty much done. You don't need to do any more iterations of anything. As soon as you know that the counter is 3, then 4 of a kind is going to be equal true. And then we're just going to simply break out of this loop. Okay, so that's not all. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to have this if conditional statement here. And actually, this needs to go in here. Yeah, that needs to go right there. All right. And the reason this needs to go here is because if the rank to check is equal to the next rank to check, then I want to check all of this. If it's equal, then I'm going to set the current card to the next card. We also are going to increment the counter. After that, we're then going to check if the counter equals 3. If it is 3, then we're going to print out 4 of a kind. Okay, so right after this if conditional here, we're just going to go else. And then we're going to write this. Rank to check equals sorted card hand dot get I plus 1 face, and then counter equals 0. All right, so hopefully this makes sense to you guys. So what's happening here is that if we get to a point where the current card is not equal to the next card, we're then going to jump down to this else clause. And in this else clause, what we're doing, we're just setting the rank to check equal to the next card. And then we're going to set the counter down to 0, because if the two cards are not equal, then we're going to automatically set that counter to 0. If the two cards are equal, what's going to happen is that it's just going to make its way through this if conditional statement multiple times to determine whether or not if the counter is 3. If the counter is 3, then it's a 4 of a kind. But let's just say we're going through the loop and we realize that rank to check is not equal to the next rank to check. So what's going to happen is that we're going to pop down into this else clause, and then we're just going to go rank to check equals sorted card hand dot get at position I plus 1 dot face. And the reason I'm doing that is because if these are not equal, then this is never going to set. So if these are not equal, this is never going to be set to the next card in the hand. So if we were to have a card hand, like for example, the one that I was talking about up here, like king and jack here, if it's not equal, what's going to happen is that we're going to make our way down to this else clause, and then we're just going to go rank to check equals the next card in the hand. So if it's not equal, then the current card is now going to be jack. And then up on the next iteration, we're going to compare the jack to this jack, and then this one to this one, and then so on. And then eventually, if we hit 3, then it's a 4 of a kind. All right, so just going to go is 4 of a kind. That's what I'm going to return. Okay, so this method is pretty straightforward. Hopefully you guys understand it. As always, if you have any comments, just leave them down below. But let me zoom this out, and let's go ahead and try it out. All right, so we can first of all try it out with this example, the king, jack, 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 jack. I'm going to save it. I'm going to run the application. Paste. Then we can zoom in, and we can see what we're going to get. So we have the king, we have the jack, 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 and the jack. So we're going to press enter, and then we're going to just see what is going to be returned. Okay, so we got 4 of a kind returned. Okay, so the reason we got that is because the counter was 3. And then from there, we pretty much just set our Boolean here. And then from there, we just set the system.out.println. That's going to print out 4 of a kind. And we can also try this with the other example that I have up here. King, 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 jack. Zoom this in. We're just going to press enter. 4 of a kind. So as you can see, 4 cards of one rank and then 1 card of another rank. And that's pretty much it. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do next is jump right into the next method. This is going to be the check full house method. So before I start implementing this method, I'm going to just go right up top to this check all ranks method, and then I'm just going to uncomment this line of code right here, this check full house. And I'm going to implement this method. Copy it. I'm going to cut it. Then what I'm going to do is place it right below this 4 of a kind method. So just going to do something like this. And I'm also going to switch this return type to Boolean. And after that, I'm just going to add a return statement. So I'm going to return null for right now. We're going to change this later. And what we want to do is go up top right here and just simply add a comment just explaining exactly what this method is going to do. And this method is basically going to determine if the hand that's passed in contains 3 cards of one rank and 2 cards of another rank, because that's ultimately what the full house ranking hand is. So I'm just going to go a hand that contains 3 cards of one rank and 2 cards of another rank. All right. And also I want to add just an example of what this hand is supposed to look like. And I can also zoom this in for you guys. All right. So what we're going to be doing is just adding combination to check. We can just go 10 of hearts, 10 of diamonds, 9 of spades, and 9 of spades. And this, we can also go 10 of spades right here, 10 of spades. So we're going to have the 10 of hearts, 10 of diamonds, 10 of spades, and then the 9 of spades, and then the 9 of spades. So as you see, we have 5 cards, 3 cards are of one rank, and then the other 2 are of another rank. And it pretty much satisfies this description that we have here. Basically a hand that contains 3 cards of one rank and 2 cards of another rank. Alright, so let's jump right into the code. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to add ourselves a comment. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable. And this variable is going to be called rank 1. All right, so let's just go ahead and add a comment first. I'm just going to go grab the rank of the first card in hand. First card in hand. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create myself a string rank 1. And then set this equal to sorted card hand dot get at position 0 dot face. So this is pretty straightforward. I just have a variable here, and this variable is being set to the sorted card hand dot get at position 0 dot face. So basically, whatever hand is passing here, I'm just grabbing the first card. All right. So the next line, we're going to add an int sum rank 1. Set that, and then from there, we're just going to go keep track of the rank total. So basically, this is just going to keep a count of the rank that is grabbed from this sorted card hand. So basically, we're eventually going to use the sum rank to total up the number of ranks within this hand. So let's just say we have 3 10s and 2 9s. So what's going to happen is going to start here at position 0, and then eventually we're going to use this sum rank to calculate the number of 10s in this hand, for example. All right, so after this, what we are going to do is do the same thing for the last card. So I just want to go grab the rank of the last card in hand. Then I just want to go string rank 2, set that equal to sorted card hand dot get at position sorted card hand dot size -1 dot face. All right, so this line is pretty straightforward. We basically just have a rank 2 variable of type string, and what's going to happen is that within this sorted card hand, we're going to have a first card, then we're going to have a last card. And what's going to happen is that this rank 2 is going to be set to the last card. And then we just do the same thing, int sum rank 2. And it's pretty much the same as this. It's going to keep track of the rank. So it's pretty straightforward. Just going to keep track of the rank of this card, which is pretty much the last card in the hand. So it's pretty straightforward. All right. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create ourselves a for loop. And this for loop is going to count cards similar to the first and last card. All right, let me just scroll this down a bit. Then I want to go for int I equals 1. I is lesser than sorted card hand dot size -1. Then we just want to go I plus plus. All right, so as you can see, we have our for loop here, and we're going to use this for loop to iterate and also count the number of ranks based on the card hand that is passed in. So the first thing that we want to do in this for loop is add ourselves an if conditional statement. You just want to go if sorted card hand dot get at position I dot face dot equals rank position 1. Then I want to go sum rank plus plus. And I'm trying to see why we're getting this initialized. Yeah, we have to actually, we have to initialize it. All right, so we just set this sum rank 1 equals to 0. Well, actually, this is actually going to be 1. And then the sum rank 2, set this equal to 1. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing for sum rank 2. So basically what we have here, to just explain it, what I'm doing here is I'm grabbing the sorted card hand at position I, which is the current iteration in this loop, and then I'm checking the face to see if it's equal to rank 1. Okay, if it is, then I'm going to increment by 1. And this is going to continue for every equal card in the hand that is equal to rank 1. All right. Then I'm going to add myself another if conditional statement. And actually, to make this shorter, I could just copy this and then paste it right below here. And then I would ultimately just change this to rank 2. So it'll be pretty much doing the same thing, but just for the last card in the hand. Okay. If you have any questions about this, go ahead and just leave it in the comments below if you guys are confused about anything. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to check the full house. I'm just going to go check full house. So to check it, I'm going to need another if conditional statement. Now this if conditional statement is going to go if, then I'm going to have another parentheses inside of that, sorted card hand dot get at position I well, actually, hold on. No, we're not going to need this. We're going to need not sorted card hand. We're actually going to need a sum rank 1, and we're going to check if that's going to be equal to 3. Sum rank 1 equals 3, and sum rank 2 equals 2. And then we're just going to have or. Then we're going to do the same thing, and to just save some time, we could actually copy this. And I'm going to explain all this in a minute. Two and then 3. So let me just write out the remaining code and then I'll explain everything to you guys. All right, so inside of this if conditional statement, I'm going to go if full, no, I'm going to go is full house equals true. And then I'm just going to go sys out full house. Else is full house equals false. And then ultimately return is full house. All right, so let's explain what's going on here. All right, guys, so as you can see, we have an if conditional statement here. And this if conditional statement is saying if the sum rank 1 is equal to 3 and the sum rank 2 is equal to 2. So let's just focus on this right now. So what's happening here is I'm checking to see if the count of sum rank 1 is equal to 3. So in this sum rank 1, as you see here, I'm incrementing by 1. And what's happening is this if conditional statement is going to check to see if the card in the first position is equal to any other cards within this sorted card hand. So, for example, in the first iteration, we're just going to go the 10 of hearts. We're going to have the 10, and then the second iteration, we're going to have another 10, and then another iteration, we're going to have another 10. So what I'm doing down here is I'm checking if the sum rank will equal 3. So ultimately, in this case, the sum rank 1 will equal 3 because we have the 3 T's here. And then we're also checking for the sum rank 2. So sum rank 2 is going to be 9. The reason it's going to be 9 is because we're starting from the end. Sorted card hand dot get at position, sorted card hand dot size -1. And then what we're going to do is we're going to compare this against every iteration of this loop as it makes its way through this entire sorted card hand. So we're checking for either if the sum rank 1 is equal to 3 and sum rank 2 is equal to 2, or if the sum rank 1 is equal to 2 and the sum rank 2 is equal to 3. So what happens is when we check for both of these combinations, it's going to determine whether or not we have a royal flush. Because, as we said, a royal flush is a hand that contains 3 cards of one rank and 2 cards of another rank. So hopefully this makes sense to you guys. Also, inside of this if condition statement here, I have is full house equals true. So ultimately, if either of these two conditions are satisfied, then is full house will be set to true. And then also we're just going to simply print out full house. Else, if these conditions are not true, we're going to go is full house equals false. And then ultimately this method is going to return full house. But when we run the application, it's either going to print full house out or not. And that's going to determine whether or not this hand that we pass into this method is a ranking of full house or not. All right, so that's pretty much it. And as I said, if you have any questions, always just leave them in the comments below. So let me zoom this out for you guys. All right, and we're going to take our little example right here, the 10, 10, 10, 9, and 9 hand. So we're going to go to copy. We're going to run. Then I can zoom this in. I'm going to simply paste our hand right here. Then after that, I'm just going to press enter. All right, so as you can see, we have full house returned. And this is pretty much what this method does. It determines if the sorted card hand passed in is a full house or not. All right, guys, so what we're going to be doing here is implementing the check flush and the check straight method. So I'm going to dive right into it. First of all, I'm going to implement the check flush method. So before we do anything, we need to scroll all the way up to check flush. And then pretty much create the method, cut it, Then scroll all the way down, right under the full house method, paste it, Boolean, and from there, just need to add a return type, return null for now. All right, and what we're gonna do is just add a comment, so we'll explain exactly what this method does. And pretty much this method is supposed to take in a sorted card hand, and it's supposed to determine if this card hand is a flush. And we know a flush is any 5 cards with the same suit and no sequential rank. So let me just write that out. Any 5 cards with same suit and no sequential rank. Then we're just going to have our combination to check. This is ultimately just an example, which is going to go 4 spades, jack of spades, 8 spades, 2 spades, 9 spades. All right, so as you can see, this hand right here is 5 cards with the same suit, but it has no sequential rank. So ultimately, it is not descending incrementally. There's no sequential rank at all. All right, so let me zoom this in for you guys, and then we're going to start the implementation. All right, so the first thing that we need to do is simply just create a if conditional statement. This implementation should be fairly simple. We just want to go if suit equals, then sorted card hand, and is descending incrementally equals false. Then we want to do something. You just want to go is flush equals true, flush, else is flush equals false. And then ultimately just return is flush. All right, so this is pretty straightforward. This is pretty much it. So to just go over this implementation really quickly, I have a check flush method. It's going to take in a sorted card hand, and I'm just checking to see if the suits are equal. So in this hand, it's going to check if all the suits in this hand are equal. Okay, if they are equal, then we're also going to check and see if this hand is descending incrementally. All right, so we already have a method for descending incrementally already up top. But if this is going to be, if this is equal to false, then we can continue and make our way inside of this if conditional statement. So once these two are satisfied, we're going to go is flush equals true, and then system.out.println flush. And if these conditions are not met, then we're going to set is flush to false. But ultimately, we're going to return is flush, which is going to give us a true or false. But this is pretty much it as far as this method, the check flush method. Let me zoom this out, and we can actually test this out. We have 5 cards here. Got the 4 of spades, jack of spades, 8 of spades, 2 of spades, and 9 of spades. So just going to copy and then run the application. We're going to save first, run the application, and then paste. We can zoom this in, and then from here we can just press enter, and we're getting flush return. Pretty much it just returns the card hand in sorted order to the best as it can, since it's not descending incrementally, and it pretty much just prints out flush. So this method seems to be working properly. Let's zoom out, and after this we're also going to go ahead and implement the check straight method. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to scroll up to the check all ranks method, and then I'm going to uncomment this check straight. Then I'm going to go ahead and create the method, copy it, I'm going to cut, I'm going to scroll down, all the way down, and right under the check flush method, I'm going to paste this method, Boolean, and then from here, I can just return null for now. I'm going to change that later. And from there, let me just zoom this in. You can dive right into it. So this check straight method is going to be something like this. All right, so a straight is any 5 cards of sequential rank, but that hand does not have the same suit. So any 5 cards of sequential rank and not with the same suit. So let's just type that out. Any 5 cards of sequential rank and not with same suit. Combination to check. Combination to check is going to be this combination. 9 club, 8 diamonds, 7 spades, 6 diamonds, 5 hearts. All right, so that's our combination that we're going to be checking. So we're just going to dive right into the implementation. This should be another fairly short one. We're just going to go if not suit equals sorted card hand and is descending incrementally equals true, then we want to do something. We just want to go is straight equals true, then system.out .println straight. Then from here, else is straight equals false. Then right after that, we're just gonna go return is straight. Okay. You can remove this. And this is pretty much it. Let me just explain what's going on. It's pretty straightforward, but I'll just go ahead and explain it for you guys. So what we have here, we have an if conditional statement, and we're checking if the suit is not equal. So we're checking the sorted card hand, and we want it to satisfy this condition, the not equal condition. So if the suit of the sorted card hands, if all the sorted card hands contain suits that are not equal, then what's going to happen is that this condition is going to be satisfied. And we're also checking if is descending incrementally equals true. So basically, it is true because it satisfies this check straight condition. And we know check straight means any 5 cards of sequential rank and not with the same suit. So they don't have the same suit, but they have a sequential rank. So this satisfies this check straight method. All right, so let's just copy this. And then what we're going to do, we're going to zoom out just for a quick second. We're going to save, and then we're going to run the application. And from here, we're just going to paste, zoom in, press enter. We have a straight. So this is pretty much it for the straight method. It's pretty straightforward, and it satisfies this condition, any 5 cards of sequential rank and not the same suit. All right, guys, so there you have it. We have implemented the check flush method as well as the check straight method. All right, guys, so the next thing we're going to do is jump right into the 3 of a kind method. So what we're going to do is, first of all, scroll up to check all ranks. And as you can see, I have this method. I'm going to uncomment check 3 of a kind. I also want to let you guys know this. I added this here, this check pair method. I realized that it was not a method that was added. So I just added it here, this check pair method. But we're going to first of all start off with the check 3 of a kind. So we're going to go ahead and create this method. We know this method is going to return a Boolean, and I just want to cut this and then scroll all the way down right below straight method, or the check straight method, and just paste it right here. All right, we're going to move this little to-do auto-generated stub, and what we're going to do is just start implementing the method now. So the first thing that we need to do is write ourselves a comment. And we know what a 3 of a kind is based on the presentation that I showed you guys earlier. So basically a 3 of a kind is a hand that contains 3 cards of 1 rank and 2 cards and 2 non-paired cards. So let's just write that out. A hand that contains 3 cards of 1 rank and 2 non-paired cards. Do we know we're just going to return null for now? And also in this comment up here, I just want to go combination to check. I'm just going to go jack of clubs, jack of clubs, jack of clubs, 4 of hearts, and 2 of spades. Or we can also check this, queen of clubs, jack of clubs, 2 of clubs, 2 of hearts, 2 of spades. Okay, so these are the combinations that we're going to be checking. Next, I'm going to zoom this in real quick for you guys. All right, so now we're going to start with the implementation of this method. So the first thing that we need to do is create ourselves a counter. We're just going to go int counter equals 0. And ultimately, this counter is going to be keeping track of the number of cards within the hand, of the number of similar of the same card in the hand. So, and this counter is going to make sense later. So let me just start off with this. We're going to then create ourselves a for loop. I'm just going to go for int I equals 0. I is lesser than or equal to sorted card hand dot size -1 I plus plus. Then I'm going to have another loop in here for int I int j equals 0. J is lesser than or equal to sorted card hand dot size -1 j plus plus. All right, so as you can see here, we have 2 for loops. We have a for loop here for the sorted card hand, which is using I, and then we have another loop down here, which is using J. So we're going to be iterating through the list twice. And when we iterate through this list, we want to first of all check and see if I is not equal to j. And basically what this means is that we want to make sure that before we do anything, we need to ensure that the position of I is not going to be equal to j. And then from here, we're going to check and see if the sorted card hand that get at position I dot face is equal to sorted card hand that get at position J dot face. So basically what we're doing here is we're counting the number of cards in the hand, in the sorted hand that is passed in. And once we get a count of this, we're going to determine whether or not this hand is going to be 3 of a kind or not. So let me just go ahead and implement this. I'm just going to go if sorted card hand dot get at position I dot face equals sorted card hand dot get at position J dot face. Then what I want to do is counter plus plus, add 1 to the counter. All right, so basically this is what's going on. We have a sorted card hand that is passed in. We are then iterating through the sorted card hand twice. We then are wanting to make sure that the position of I is not equal to the position of J. After that, we're going to have an if conditional statement that is going to compare the values of one. So basically what's happening is that we kind of have like two sorted card hands, which are separate from each other. And what's happening is that we're comparing one element in the sorted card hand with another element in the other sorted card hand. And we're basically just trying to get a count. Once we get a specific count, we're gonna know if this card hand is 3 of a kind or not. And one way to determine that would be to go right below this for loop and then just go if counter equals 6. Then we want to do something. And I'm just going to add a little comment here. Counter equals 6 means the value match with another value in your hand 3 times. 3 of a kind. And inside this if conditional, we just want to go is 3 of a kind equals true. And then we just want to go something like this. 3 of a kind. Then ultimately we're just going to return is 3 of a kind. All right, so this is pretty much it right here. So we have this if conditional statement and we see that the counter is going to be equal to 6. But what I mean when the counter is equal to 6, this means that the value matched with another value in your hand 3 times. So if you were to have 2 separate hands, if you can just imagine we have 2 separate hands of jack, 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 4, and 2. What's going to happen is that imagine you have just another sorted hand. We're going to take, for example, this jack, and then we're going to compare it. You know what? Let me just see if I can try to write something out here. Let's just say we have jack, 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 4, 2. And then we have another one, jack, 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 4, 2. All right? And basically the way this code is going to work is we're making sure in this loop that I is not equal to J. So what's happening here is that when we make our way through this